before we get into ReZero, can we just talk about this for a moment? Like, in just 40 hours, the reputation of some very iconic Pokemon like Typhlosion, Rapidash, Octillery, so many others, has just been permanently damaged. Like, they are never beating the allegations after the 1 terabyte Pokemon leak. Like, it is insane what has been happening. And it's like, I know at this point, if you're even remotely interested in Pokemon to some degree, you probably have heard this news, and you probably have found out even against your will, even if you're not a Pokemon fan, because of just how much it's been talked about and trending. But it's just, I didn't want to dedicate a full video to this, but it blows my mind how this leak has just, like, it's really showcased that Palworld really infringed more onto Nintendo's Pokemon than we could have ever realized. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, segueing off of that, let's talk about ReZero for a second. I have seen a lot of people in the ReZero community, ever since this PV trailer dropped 10 hours ago, down bad for this brief few second scene. It's very brief, but people are very down bad for this character. And tomorrow's episode is going to be unhinged. The upcoming episode after that is going to be even more unhinged. I cannot wait to see what anime-onlys think and what they say in discussions. It's going to be so amusing just seeing people's reaction to this said character. I don't think she's been named yet, so I'm not going to say her name, FYI, for spoiler reasons. But I will say it's very clear by, like, the key visual art and stuff that has been on the promotional material of ReZero Season 3 that I think at this point everybody has probably seen. Yes, she's clearly a part of the Witch's Cult. We don't know necessarily the full role of what she's going to do, but we know she is a huge figure in the Witch's Cult, and I cannot wait to see just the amount of down bad people for this individual character in the upcoming episodes. I mean, we already have examples of this. I mean, we have my boy Ice here, that is one of the most well-known leakers of ReZero, already showcasing how down bad he really is for this character. I can't wait to see just the unhinged post in the following weeks. Just not on Twitter, but on TikTok, Reddit, and YouTube as well. There's going to be people making entire dedicated videos to being down bad for this character. 100%. I'm willing to put money on that. That is 100% something that is going to happen in the following weeks. Now, anyways, with that being said, let's talk about this PV trailer. So this PV trailer, it is very short, quick to the point. It's about a minute long. It does give a lot of details, actually, but it holds enough back to where going into the upcoming episode tomorrow, you're still going to be very surprised at what to expect, but you get a general understanding of what maybe the theme of episode 3 is going to be about. It more or less is obviously continuing the fight at the end of episode 2, where Regulus appears and Subaru comes, in contact with Greed himself, and you see Amelia grabbed by, like, Regulus, and, we don't know what's going to happen or whatever, but Amelia is grabbed, and Subaru's face off against another Sin Archbishop. And looking at episode 2 and episode 1, Subaru died like 4 to 5 times. And it's like, that was just serious. The Sin Archbishop of Wrath. Now he has Greed here, which is also responsible for the damages that was done to Crush's camp and what happened to Rim as well. We even see brief glimpses of Gluttony as well appear within this PV trailer. So the main, perpetrators, the people responsible for some of the damages done to Subaru's friends, is now in this city. So maybe old, business vengeance can be made, like Subaru can get back at the individuals that have done his friends wrong, like Rim. Can he get Rim back this season? There's a lot of things that are building up, but the big thing is that Amelia is currently in the grasp of Greed himself. I mean, the end of last week's episode showcased that he has multiple wives, and he wants to make Amelia his new wife. He's a very disgusting individual, he's gross, and it's very clear that Subaru is not going to accept that, lying down. He's going to do everything in his power to get rid of Regulus, because how dare he say he's going to marry Amelia when obviously Subaru wants to marry Amelia. But, anyways, this confrontation at the beginning of this PV trailer, it makes you wonder, how is Subaru supposed to deal with 2 Sin Archbishops? I mean, look at just how difficult it was to bring down Sloth in Season 1. It was a nightmare, and it was only thanks to Subaru's return by death and his connection with Satala that he was even able to bring down Sloth permanently. If it wasn't for that, Sloth would still be active, alive, and wandering around. Subaru obviously is a perfect counter to a lot of these witch cultists, but it's like the average individual clearly cannot bring these people down. Hell, not even Reinhardt can do it. And I guess this is a perfect segue for that. So I did talk about it in my episode review for ReZero last week, but it is something very important to discuss, because for a very long time, there's been a huge discussion within the ReZero community, not just the web novel readers or the light novel readers, but even the anime-onlys. I've seen it ever since Season 1, and hell, I even participated in it when I was just an anime-only for ReZero as well. But I always wondered, like, why didn't Reinhardt ever fight the witch cultists? Like, why didn't he ever go after the White Well? Why did he never take down Sloth? Why didn't he take down Greed? Why didn't he take down, Wrath? Obviously these witch cultists have been around for a very long time. These witch cultists have been traveling and causing problems within different countries. Why isn't people like Reinhardt dealing with this when they're just so incredibly gifted and powerful? Like, Reinhardt is literally a tactical nuke. This man can pretty much get any divine protection he wants. Why can he not take down someone like Sirius or anyone else? Why is that? Because clearly he is capable of bringing them down. I mean, you saw in the last episode, he can kill them. Well, why has he not done that? Well, he's not the answer. It's kind of like, let's think of surgery. You have someone that is a doctor and is capable of doing the surgery properly, stitching someone up, laser burning, the wound, correctly and all that, just doing the proper procedures. Or you have someone that is a hack doctor that doesn't really have a full license. They're very skilled, but they overcomplicate things. I guess this isn't a good analogy, actually. This is not, because Reinhardt would be very good or skilled at anything he does. What I'm trying to say is Reinhardt is overkill. There you go. That is a better way to explain this. Reinhardt is an overkill weapon for dealing with a situation. It's kind of like, instead of using a knife in a fight, he is a nuke, okay? You don't use a nuke in a knife fight. You don't do that, okay? Reinhardt is just too powerful, too strong, and because of how strong he is not the answer to every situation, because when he fought Sirius, everyone around Sirius died as well, because they were connected to her. So, yeah, we get the point, that basically Reinhardt, he isn't perfect, he makes mistakes, despite how strong he is and loved by the world, he cannot do everything. And I think that is a very big detail that last episode of ReZero showcased, and it is one of the most important segments, I think, of all of ReZero Season 3 that's going to happen. Like, it's obviously, he's not the main character, obviously, but it's very important to basically say that Reinhardt isn't the answer to every situation, and you can't rely on Reinhardt. That's what Toppe wanted to do. He wanted to prove that, yes, Reinhardt's broken, he's OP, but he can't do everything. And I like that. It's a great way to ground a super overpowered character, basically like a walking god, and ground him in reality to where he can't do everything and settle every issue. It's a great way to write a character. It's a great way to really reel him in and not use him just as a plot device. It's a good thing. But anyways, I've gotten a little bit on a tangent here. Let's get into actually the main point. So with everything set up at the end of episode 2, going into this episode, Subaru cannot rely on anyone, like, for instance, like Reinhardt, are very super powerhouse individuals, because that's not the answer. So how is he supposed to take someone down like Sirius, or take someone down like Regulus? We don't even know how Regulus's abilities work, clearly, but we also don't even know how he's supposed to take down Sirius. The only way he theoretically could take her down is by isolating her. Like, thinking about the situation of what's been showcased in episode 1 and episode 2, she is capable of having emotions spread amongst people around her, and they become a mob. They're all connected and linked and all that. So one of the big counters probably to Sirius is to isolate her somewhere in like a mountain, a field, or whatever, and then fight her. So theoretically, if Subaru could figure out how to push her away from an area and allow maybe Reinhardt to face her 1v1 in a far off distance, then that would be the answer to potentially taking her down. That is one solution, but that's very hard, especially when you're in a crowded city like this that we've already seen has so many people within it. On top of that, Regulus is here, so he definitely complicates the matters of whatever's going to happen in this upcoming episode. So, disregarding the witch cultist for a second, let's segue into Garfield. So this episode of ReZero seems to be heavily focused on Garfield's interaction, not just with Mimi that's hanging out with him, but this mysterious figure that looks oddly enough like his mother. Now, this isn't necessarily a spoiler in anything by that. Anyone that is obviously fresh off of watching Season 2, or at the very least has rewatched Season 2, will instantly recognize this character. Her hair color, her eye design, her features, she straight up looks exactly like the mother we saw in Garfield's flashback. She looks exactly like the person that supposedly was dead thanks to what he saw in his trials with Echidna in Sanctuary. So, seeing this character, obviously you're wondering, is this Garfield's mother? It couldn't be. She could be dead. Like, she's supposed to be dead. What's going on here? And obviously, if, like, she is Garfield's mother, you'd think she would have already said something in episode 1. So the fact that hasn't been said, it makes you wonder what's happening here. We also see other kids. They do look very similar to Garfield, not gonna lie, but it doesn't change the fact that it's like, who is this individual? Is it just a strange coincidence? Is this maybe his aunt? Maybe, like, you know, his mother had a twin sister? There's a lot of questions, okay? There's a lot of things that pop up with this scene, and it's very clear that this upcoming episode is developing Garfield's character, progressing him even more than he already did. And let's talk about that. So Garfield from Season 2 and where he's at now. As we know, Garfield was a scared little naive boy in Sanctuary that never left Sanctuary. He was traumatized by Echidna's trial. He thought his mother was dead and fell off, like, you know, a cliff with the wagon and all that. She was gone. He felt the outside world was scary, it would take from people, so he never wanted to leave Sanctuary. He was perfectly fine with staying in Sanctuary. And throughout that time period, he always said he was the strongest. And to be fair, in his little pond that he was in, he was the strongest. There was no one, technically, that lived in Sanctuary that really could face him. The only person was Rosewall if he appeared. But besides that, Garfield technically was the strongest. I mean, unless outside forces kind of came in. But the point is that ever since Subaru's intervention and what he did in Season 2 and trying to free Sanctuary, it has resulted in Garfield's world being shattered. His worldview has crumbled apart in front of his eyes, and this naive boy realizes how naive he was. The world is much bigger, a lot scarier, and he has come to terms with the fact that he's not even in the top 10 or even top 50 of the strongest entities in this world. Like, his encounter with Reinhardt in episode 1 was a lot more telling to his character than I think a lot of people realized. Garfield obviously is all about strength, and he says he's the strongest, and encountering someone that puts him on end and puts him in such a guarded position, it shows that he felt threatened. He actually felt threatened by Reinhardt to such a degree, which, go figure, makes sense. But he was threatened by Reinhardt, and he felt like he needed to go on the attack. And he realized that there was nothing he could do to potentially fight Reinhardt. Their gap between them was just so massive, there was literally no way they could theoretically overcome it. And obviously, this has wounded Garfield considerably, because not just the Reinhardt scene, but, you know, episode 1 as well showcased that Garfield is facing trauma from not just, like, his mother, but also Elsa. Because in his fight with Elsa at the end of, you know, Season 2, he was fighting a very powerful opponent. She was a vampire, he really was struggling to face her, and he only won thanks to circumstance and luck and all that. He feels like he didn't really overcome it with his own skill and his own strength. It was thanks to so many obstacles and so much luck that resulted in it. And he can't accept the fact that luck was a big play. And so he feels like even despite taking down Elsa, he's still not stronger than Elsa. And he's soul-searching about how strong he is, but on top of that, encountering someone that is like the origin of some of his original trauma, you're like, what's going to happen to his character? And it's like, what role is Mimi going to have as well in this interaction? Because it's very clear she is, in some shape or form, attached to Garfield. I think that's a very obvious thing. She might be crushing on him, or maybe she views him like an older brother. Who really knows? But the thing is Mimi is obviously growing attached to Garfield, and it's clear that she might be some shape or form a way for Garfield to vent his frustrations on, or to vent to someone about how he currently feels that isn't necessarily Subaru, or Otto, or Emilia. You get the point. He can vent to someone else. And I think that is going to be very healthy for his character, meeting new people, talking with new people about his problems, his issues, and trying to face them head on, not just with people, but also by himself as well. I love this. It shows a lot of character development just with these brief scenes, and it makes you wonder, is this really his mother or not? And what's going to happen? What conclusion is he going to draw from this? Because even if she isn't necessarily his mother, what the scene is implying is that he's going to come to terms with his mother's death and accept it if she really is dead or his mother is gone. So yeah, that's all I want to say. Anyways, this PV trailer of ReZero, legitimately, it looks so good, man. It's so short, but it looks so good, and I cannot wait to see how they're going to adapt certain things. I've talked with a few people that are working on ReZero, actually. I can't name drop them or anything, or tell strict, like, details on anything, but from what I've heard from insider sources, ReZero Season 3 is in very good hands. It's very well ahead of production as well, and any issues that people have or worries they have about ReZero Season 3, I wouldn't worry too much. Something really bad has to happen at this point for it to be bad, so yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned, ReZero fans. We really are potentially about to have the best season of the anime ever. Even better than Season 1. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. May all of you have a fantastic day or night wherever you live. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.